All right, do we have a thumbs up? Good evening. And on behalf of the City of Independence, we welcome you to this virtual Planning Commission meeting for March 8th, 2022. For the convenience of those participating in tonight's meeting, I'd like to remind all in attendance, both commissioners and the public, to please mute yourself when you are not speaking to prevent distraction and unwanted disruption. Staff will be enforcing this and monitoring those in attendance for questions during public hearings. And during the public hearing portions of the meeting, staff will call on those who have requested to speak in the order that you signed up. Following that, anyone else who wishes to speak will be recognized. For those who wish to speak tonight, please remember to address all comments and questions to the chair and keep your comments brief and on point. If you agree with the previous comment, simply indicate your agreement. To expedite tonight's meeting, I'll ask those who wish to testify or believe they might wish to testify to be sworn in. Do we have anybody on the call that is going to speak?
The applicants will probably speak.
Okay, so if you will, applicants, if you will unmute, and if possible, put yourself on video. Then I will swear you in. If you'll please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth before this commission? If so, please answer, I do.
I do.
Thank you. All right, the first item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and a reminder that we have 2 meeting notes to look at. And so I would entertain a motion for all, or if someone saw issues in one or the other, we can separate them out and vote on them separately. So I'll give you a minute to look those over, and then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Commissioner.
I move for the adoption of the consent agenda item. The minutes of January the 11th, 2022 and January 25th.
Is there a second?
I second.
Madam Chair, I would ask if we need to call roll.
Oh, yes.
We do. That's correct. Thanks, Commissioner Michelle. City, will you call roll before we make the motion?
Commissioner Ferguson.
Here.
Commissioner Michelle.
Here.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Here.
Commissioner Preston.
Here.
Commissioner Wiley.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Chairman McLean.
Here. Okay. Now let's do a do-over, and I will take that motion for the consent agenda again.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferguson. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle.
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Preston.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner McLean.
Yes. The consent agenda has passed. Next item on our agenda is cases to be continued, and there are 4 cases that will be continued to March 22nd, 2022. They are case number 22-150-01, Comprehensive Plan Amendment for Little Blue Parkway, M78 Highway, case 22-100-03, rezoning of the Little Blue Parkway, M78 Highway, and My fingers are not working. Case number 22-125-02, rezoning of 2226 Artie Mize Road and approximately 2411 South Little Blue Parkway. Case number 22-125-03, rezoning East Truman Road, M78 Highway, Little Blue Parkway. All four of those cases, if possible, we'd like to continue those until March 22nd, 2022. So if I could take a motion for all of them as a block, that would be magnificent.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Preston.
I move according to the previous reading that those cases as so read be moved to March 22nd, 2022.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Wiley? Thank you. And we're ready for the vote.
Let's see, Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes. Cases for the Little Blue, all four of them will be postponed till March 22nd, 2022. Approved. All right, next case is a continued case, 21-100-12, which is rezoning of 16813 East 23rd Street and 2304 South M291 Highway. A request by Jessica Glavis of Quick Trip to rezone this property from C1 Neighborhood Commercial and C2 General Commercial to C2 General Commercial. Staff, will you give us a report, please?
Okay. This is case 21-112, Quick Trip store number 192. The Quick Trip Corporation requests to rezone properties located at 16813 East 23rd Street South from C1 Neighborhood Commercial and C2 General Commercial to the entirety of the property being C2 General Commercial. So looking here at the vicinity map, you can see that this is basically the location of where the Red Racks is. Doesn't include the Scooters coffee location, but the property that surrounds it to the west and the south. So this is a rezoning and the accompanying preliminary development plan. So the surrounding zonings, as you can see, it's mostly C2. The big residential property of the south is actually the church property, the Baptist church. Everything else is C2, so we're needing to take care of this one little C1 rezoning to make it C2 as well, to align it with the two new tracks that will be created for the Quick Trip and the proposed medical clinic. As you can see, the shopping center is along Hub. That's all commercial, and as well as shopping centers across the street. In line with the comprehensive plan, this area is seen as remaining community commercial. And of course, this is the notification area of every property, all business properties, a lot of right-of-way within the 185 feet. The two-lot site, of course, is at the intersection of 23rd and 291. An L-shaped site, which is about 127,000 square feet. This is the site plan. You can see the building would be facing 23rd Street. You got the pumps out front here. And then going around on the private drive over here, you can see that the small clinic building that's set over here on a separate lot to the south east. A detailed landscaping plan, a more detailed one, is going to be required when the final plan review is done. What is provided here is not adequate, particularly for the urgent care facility. So they'll need to provide that with the site plan that accompanies both the final plan review and the construction plans. As you can see here, this is the on-site drainage basin or underground storage facility will be to the south of the building, and parking will be located to the west and the east of either side of the building, of the Quick Trip building. Accesses will be off Hub Drive, off 23rd Street, and off 291, given the medians on all these drives. Of course, all of these will be ride in, ride out by necessity. There will be cross access across the Scooters property, and that access across Scooters will continue to exist, as well as this access up here on 23rd Street will give accessibility to the Scooters people as well. They'll be able to come across the Quick Trip property. And of course, Quick Trip will have the advantage of this lighted intersection at Hub Drive for people coming in off the 23rd Street and 291 corridors. So this is the conceptual drawing of what the convenience store would look like. Be primarily a red brick construction with accent bands and columns of dark granite ephes, as well as large windows with steel framing. So there'll be pedestrian shading, of course, along the sidewalk areas around the building, and the fuel canopy, which we don't have a picture of here, will be designed of metal elements and other elements that will be compatible with the building. This is the proposed urgent care facility, the clinic. Two colors of stucco and some metal copings and fixtures around windows and doors. Of course, they'll need to provide masonry trash enclosures, and all these elevations will be closely reviewed by staff within the final plan review process later on. So this is the straight-on view of the property here. This is looking to the east, or I'm sorry, to the west, down 23rd Street, back toward Lee Summit Road. You can see the Price Chopper and the Burger King in the Hub Shopping Center area there. This is the Tractor Supply property, strip center, box store location, just to the north. Okay, this is the Scooters property, which would remain intact as is. And this is looking from Scooters toward the intersection there by the Payday Loan on the northwest corner of the intersection, or northeast corner of the intersection. This is the existing driveway into Scooters for the southbound traffic on M291, and of course with cut through accessibility to the Quick Trip pumps. And this is of course, the shopping center across the median of 291 to the east, where La Fuentes is. This is the backside of the existing facility that has the retail locations down in the basement area. The proposed clinic would be in this low spot behind the retaining wall here, with the new Quick Trip, and then the rear of that property behind there. This is that private drive that runs between the four-way stop with Hub Drive by Price Chopper, that comes out to the east and tees with M291. And then this is looking down that drive back toward the four-way stop. And this just another view of the proposed urgent care property. And this is the lower level where the dollar store used to be underneath the red racks there. And then this is the west parking lot looking back toward Burger King and Tractor Supply. So in addition to the descriptions I gave you earlier, one of the things we were waiting on before this case went forward was the applicant needed to complete a traffic study. MoDOT and the city's traffic engineers have reviewed and the submitted study and concur with its conclusions. And in your report, I provided a summary of its findings. Staff recommends approval of this rezoning and preliminary plan. And I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Okay, before we bring the applicant forward, commissioners, do you have any questions for the city, for staff, for Brian?
This is Mr. Nesbitt. I do have some questions here. Did you guys look into Hub Drive, the traffic study going back towards schedule? Do you know? Or was it just strictly 23rd and 291?
I don't have the copy of it right in front of me here. Wait a second. Let's see if that was the scope of that.
I can answer that question if I may. Yes, the traffic study did include Hub Drive as well as the access points off of 291 and 23rd Street.
Okay. And that they were okay with that on the traffic study also?
Yes.
Traffic
Yeah,
flow?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or increased traffic flow and all that?
Yeah, they looked at the impacts and basically that was one of the things that took a while for this project to come forward, was making sure that the impacts off 291 was not going to be detrimental to that intersection. And so the conclusions were that it was appropriate for the site plan that was submitted.
Okay. Because I'm just questioning because you got that high rise down there, and I don't know, people that look like elderly people, and they park on the other side of Hub Drive, and they're always crossing the road. So I didn't know on that with traffic flow, it's going to increase, or they're going to be able to go to their parking lot where they park their cars. And you don't have it pictured on here, so it's farther on down. If you go all the way down to the intersection of Gudrell, it's almost to there. That's why I was questioning that.
Perhaps, I think maybe the applicant might be able to maybe go a little bit more into detail on what their traffic study included.
Okay. Are they on?
Yeah, we will bring her forward if we don't have any other questions of the city yet. Great question. Will the applicant go ahead and come forward and state your name and address for the record?
Hi, Jessica Glavis, Quick Trip Corporation, 5725 Fox Ridge Drive, Mission, Kansas, 66202.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We have a first question on the floor for you, and then if you don't mind, just go ahead and tell us what you would like us to know about the project. But if you could answer the traffic question on on the Hub Drive or.
Sure. Yeah, I was looking on my Google Earth view, and it looks like Gudgel is almost at least a half mile south. That is not in the purview of our traffic study, and we don't believe we would impact that far south. Anybody around our site would most likely go off onto 23rd or 291.
Well, my question is, are you guys going to close the one on Gudgel in 291?
We don't own anything near that at all.
Gudgel and 291, the Quick Trip there?
Oh, there's a store down there.
Yes.
We're not closing any stores in relation to this project.
Okay, so you're adding to it, so not even a half mile away, you guys are putting another store then.
Oh yeah, our other store down there. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was totally misunderstanding your question. We are not closing that store. Totally new project, unrelated to that store.
Okay, that answers quite a few of my questions, because I mean the traffic would start moving from there up to there. That's what bothered me, and they're going to find ways to get there.
Yep,
So.
we're keeping that store. So.
Okay, they answered a lot of my questions then.
All right, and sorry for the misunderstanding at first.
So go ahead and just give us any more information about the project that you'd like to share with us that you feel like we need to know.
Sure. So Quick Trip's really excited about this project. As you may or may not know, we've owned this for quite some time. So we've been really looking forward to being able to move forward on this project and build this store. I think it'll be a great store for Quick Trip and for the city. It is one of our Gen 3S stores, 5,300 square feet with a full service kitchen and 10 multiple product dispensers, so 20 fueling locations for the pumps. And then we are also adding onto this site plan a MedWise urgent care. I also have Darla Holman on to discuss that if there are any questions. We are excited to get this project done. We're rezoning that little sliver to conform, bring everything into compliance and make sure the whole site is zoned C2. And I respectfully request your approval and here for any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Ms. Glavis before we talk about the Med Building.
Mr. Nesbitt here. I do have one more question about on the traffic side. I mean, basically on Hub Drive, I know we got an island in between be your property and Burger King. How do you guys plan on getting semis in there to dump off the gas without running over curbs and stuff? That's one thing I'm a little leery about.
We have run truck turn movements. I don't know them off the top of my head, so I can't tell you where it goes, but I know it does work because we run those before we design this or when we design the site.
Well, I didn't know.
I can follow up with you afterwards.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if the city thought about removing the curbs there, making it easier on Hub. Is that a possibility? Staff? Anybody looked at that?
Where are you talking about?
Hub Drive. There's a center curb on the turn lane going all the way down there. It's pretty long. I didn't know if anybody's talked about removing some of that to make it easier for them.
You're talking about the median down the middle?
Yeah, median down middle.
I think that the intention was to keep the median in there.
Okay. So I think that might be easier for people to get into it coming off that stoplight there, because a lot of people are going to probably turn on 23rd and then turn back that way, then try to get into it. I know there's a four-way stop down there, and it doesn't quite line up. So I didn't know if we're doing anything about that or not. Staff, anybody know?
So, I mean, I would just add that I know one of the aspects of the Hub Drive was making sure that there was the turning movements, the right ins, right outs. So I believe when they submit that study, they look at the traffic, the radiuses for those to make sure that it works. And I believe that they've incurred that it would not necessarily impact that turning movement. But yeah, I believe that that island is one of the aspects to the traffic study as far as staying.
Okay. What about that four-way stop down there? That's in that, basically, right now you have it on the alley coming out of the Price Chopper, Hub Drive. It doesn't quite line up. It's pretty bad looking. So I didn't know what the plans with that was or anything.
Are you talking about the, because I think they kind of show that intersection, or at least the curbs being reconstructed on that rear portion of the, is that?
On our side, we're trying to make it better. Sorry.
Okay, all the way down to the end there, that's a four-way stop. Basically, there's signs there. I'm guessing we maintain them since it's Hub Drive. So I'd like to know if we're going to fix that any down there, because it's pretty bad if you guys are going to try to get into your property.
Yeah, I believe those curbs are, that area is planned to be reconstructed through there.
I would hope so. That's why I'm saying it's pretty bad. That's why it's not feasible looking, put it that way.
I would add, if I might, Madam Chair, the need for the medians on Hub Drive, and I'm looking at page 7 of the traffic study itself. We have a site entrance 5 and a site entrance 3. If on that, if we had traffic trying to turn left across Hub Drive and we had any sort of a backup at the light at 23rd Street, there would be a potential for backup out onto 23rd Street, which would be a more dangerous condition. With the current construction with the medians in place, it would force that traffic further down to entrance 3 and give much more room to not have backup out onto 23rd Street, not have traffic trying to cut across any queue that might be at Hub and 23rd. So from a safety standpoint, I haven't seen anything more than just what's in this traffic study, but my experience would tell me that this is a safer design to push that traffic down to entrance 3, as opposed to letting it sit and wait to cross over into entrance 5.
Thank you.
Is entrance 3 got a curb in front of it or not? I can't tell by the drawing.
In the traffic study image, it does not show that. So that's one of the items that was in your packet materials. I don't know if it's on the slideshow, but if you look at your packet materials, the one that says quick trip traffic report, I believe it says partial. It's the 7th page there. You can very clearly see the site entrances marked, and you can see that it does not appear that the median extends to site entrance 3, that would leave that open for a left turn further down and away from 23rd Street.
Okay, I see that now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I've got just a couple clarifying questions.
Michelle?
All right. So just for the record, we are right in, right out. So northbound traffic on Hub Drive can only drive into site entrance 5 as a right turn, and out going northbound in a right-hand turn, and they could get into the turn lane. Similarly, 23rd Street entrance, site entrance 1 is right in and right out, but site entrance 3 is a right, or it's pretty much full access in 3. Site entrance 2 is also right in, right out. So site entrance 3, I concur with the city attorney, as well as what I'm hearing from city staff, that the kind of as it's been presented appears to be the safest, most practical traffic flow in and out of the site. Can the applicant just clarify that what I'm hearing and what I'm saying is correct?
Yes, that's correct. And we are on board with that.
Thank you. And anything outside of this area would be considered offsite improvements and not under the purview of this particular project. Is that also correct?
You hear the question? Yeah.
Are you talking about like improvements to scooters, drive or something?
Or farther out, just farther outside the property lines of this particular project.
I mean, I think there's going to be some, some striping and things on this lane coming off of 23rd Street going down 291 to from what I understand that MoDOT was going to do, that would help, I guess, gives people some direction when those conflicting traffic movements sort of there.
But really what we're dealing with is just this footprint, correct? What we're deciding on the rezoning is just this area.
Well, actually you're just, looking at the rezoning with this,
right? The
use in the plan it gives you context for that, and whether, we will have the infrastructure to allow that use there. So,
okay. I just had one question, and that is the elevation footprint for the med space and the quick trip are kind of the same that's there right now, right? Because I know that there's an elevation change between that front and back piece. Is that kind of basically the same layout?
It should be similar. Yeah, the clinic will be down on a lower elevation and the store will be above.
Okay.
Because of the grading.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that grading is fun there.
Yes, fun is a good way to classify it.
Okay, do any more commissioners, does any other commissioner have any more questions? And would you like to talk to, I believe you said her name was Dana, correct? For the med building? Darla, sorry. Darla, if you don't mind coming forward and stating your name, your full name and your address, that would be great. And then maybe tell us a little bit about this side of the project.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Darla Holman. I'm with Midwest Design Group. The address is 6734 Red Oak Drive, Shawnee, Kansas, 66217. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep, perfectly. Thank you.
So we are the civil engineers on both the Quick Trip and the Medwise project. Jessica's role with Quick Trip is to represent the Quick Trip. The Medwise Urgent Care is a relatively new business venture for Quick Trip. So they have asked me to represent Medwise tonight and to answer any questions you may have. I might just read a little brief summary of this new concept. So Medwise, if that's all right with everyone.
Yes, please.
Medwise is a new business ventures with Quick Trip Corporation, as I said before, and they will offer complete on-site healthcare services. This particular footprint is a relatively standard prototype. It will have 6 care rooms with about an 18-chair waiting room. What they treat is you would visit Medwise for non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses in both adults and children. They will be a reliable, cost-effective alternative to emergency room visits. And they're also used when your primary care physician is not available. They offer same-day care for even out-of-town visitors and if they need medical treatment. They will treat illnesses, injuries, and infections. They will do testing for COVID-19, flu, strep, and RSV. They do physical exams, vaccinations, minor procedures, workman's comp assessments, and drug screenings. Some of the commonly asked questions, they will typically have hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. These hours could vary based on location, but they will not be a 24-hour operating business. They will not have overnight hospitalization or care. They will not provide ambulatory services, and they do not provide oxygen refill services.
Impressive. Any commissioners have any questions? All right, well, you did an incredible job of explaining it then. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, commissioners, does anybody have any more questions of either Quick Trip or the Med building?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I was just curious about how many, because I haven't heard of Medwise before. I was wondering how many are in the area.
So I believe that they do not have any constructed yet. This is the first one that I am associated with. They usually use their local civil consultants. I believe they have one that is going before commission in Olathe. So this would be one of the first. So Quick Trip has always had what they call a dock in the box. And they have them located like in their Quick and Tasty down in Belton. And that they've always provided medical services for their employees only. And I am guessing that this is how they kind of got into this business and started to think that why not provide medical care for the general public and not just our employees.
Fascinating. And kind
The
of broke.
closest locations are in the Tulsa area right now. Sorry. I do know that.
All right. Any other questions before I close the public hearing? I should ask very quickly, is there anyone here who would like to speak for this project? Hearing none, is there anyone who would like to speak against this project? Hearing none, this portion, the public portion of this case is closed. Commissioners, do you have any more questions of the city before I entertain a motion?
Madam Chair,
Oops. Go ahead, Bill.
I yield to Commissioner Nesbitt.
One more question for you on the 23rd Street. They are looking at putting new sidewalks per state. And we look to make sure that's going to go in correctly with this project. Does anybody know?
So we've worked with MoDOT and staff, and we are adding the crosswalk on the south leg of Hub and 23rd Street with the associated pedestrian crossing. So we will be doing the signal improvements for that. Staff has asked us to stop. We are doing a public sidewalk out in front of the Quick Trip. They've asked us to stop at the Quick Trip entrance and not put the ramp in at the other side because they don't want to drop people off into grass. We're also constructing, because of the grades of the drive, they're adjacent to the Medwise by the retaining wall. We're actually doing for sidewalk connectability, we're doing a sidewalk along the private drive from Medwise that then will come along Hub Drive to tie in. So that will add a lot of pedestrian connectivity in that block.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I know that the state was doing, and we're help paying for sidewalks on 23rd. So I just want to make sure we're talking with them also at the same time. I hate when they put sidewalks in, they come tear them back out and do it again.
Yes, that's true. And I will say, Brian, on something you said earlier, the MoDOT had originally wanted us to do some striping to kind of help the right turn lane on 23rd to southbound 291. But they have retracted that after we sent them a striping plan. They decided that that's probably not necessary. So MoDOT's requirements are a right turn lane into the Quick Trip Drive and the pedestrian sidewalk crossing on the south leg of Hub and 23rd.
Okay. Commissioner Preston, did you have a question?
Well, not so much a question, but comment. And I confessed some reservations about the size of this. However, this appears to be a very well thought out project, not hastily done, but thoughtfully done in every way. And the reservations that I did have been taken care of. And I think this will be a big positive. And I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions of city before we have a motion? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve case 21-112.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Preston.
in the matter of case number 21-100-12 and the rezoning from C1 to C2 at the appointed addresses, I move for approval, citing the fact that staff will manage the final site plans and the necessary upgrades and matters before it, and therefore no addendum or qualifying statements.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Michelle. All right. Brian, will you call a vote, please?
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes. Continued case 21-100-12 has been approved. Thank you, and thank you for cleaning up that corner. I think it's going to be a much needed improvement and use. So thank you very much for, and bringing the med store to the first one to Independence. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case, 22-100-02, rezoning of 16,000 East 23rd Street. Request by Shane and Amy Harris to rezone this property from C2 General Commercial to C2 General Commercial. Is that a mistake? Oh, C1 Neighborhood Commercial and C2 to C2 to just C2 General Commercial. Got it. Staff, will you give a report, please?
I think you were reading from the earlier.
I think I was.
Yeah, this is from the C2 to R6.
Okay.
Shane and Amy Harris. They have a single family home, legal non-conforming on a C2 to be rezoned to R6.
To R6, you're correct. Sorry about that.
Okay. And that location is at Trail Ridge and 23rd, right across from the Backyard Burger to the west, as you can see on the vicinity map. And rather deep property going back, deeper than wide. So you can see the surrounding zonings. There's a mixture along 23rd Street here. There's some R6 that's already along 23rd, as you can see. There's some to the west as well. And then there are C2 lots along this corridor, both already commercial and some of them legal non-conforming residences. We've got commercial uses obviously right here to the east. Of course, this is a residence, just like some of the others farther to the east, and of course to the north in the remainder of the subdivision. So we got R6 to the north along Trail Ridge, as well as along the Queens Ridge corridor, the block to the east there. The comprehensive plan sees this whole area as residential in the long term. As you remember from our comp plan, we were trying to get away from stripping out our commercial corridors and create nodal zones of commercial development around major intersections, like Lee Summit Road, for instance, here to the west. But this going back toward the area where we just were at Quick Trip, we have a large area that the comprehensive plan sees as remaining residential in nature along the corridor. And this aerial photograph gets you a little closer look at that lot, and you can see the deep backyard there that runs along Trail Ridge Drive there. Shane and Amy Harris so wish to rezone this half acre property, which contains a single family home, of course, from C2 to R6. The approximately 1,400 square foot ranch house is part of a larger subdivision that lies to the north that's made up of single family homes. Given the current existing residence is legal non-conforming, and therefore its continued use as a residence is permitted. However, of course, if something were to catastrophically happen to this property, and it would lose 50% or more of its value, possibly it would not be able to be rebuilt. In addition, not having C2 zoning creates encumbrances when people want to finance and get home mortgages on new single family or on existing single family homes in C2 zoned areas. So staff recommends approval of this. Real quickly, I will go through the pictures. This is looking directly north from 23rd Street. So the driveway comes out on 23rd. Interestingly enough, the driveway is actually contiguous with the parking lot of the business that's actually to the east. The property line actually runs down the pavement. This is looking across Trail Ridge at the Backyard Burger directly to the west of the property. And this is looking back to the north up Trailwoods Drive along their fence along their backyard. And this, of course, the new Dollar General and Aldi's located to the south across 23rd Street. This is looking down the commercial corridor toward the Lee Summit Road intersection. And then you can see back to the east, there's more of a mixture of residences, a little less commercial, more mixed in the eastern direction. So that concludes my brief staff report, and I'm ready to take any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Preston.
I think a minor point of clarification. I think Brian made a statement that not having the C2 or having the C2 somehow, I think it got reversed, Brian. I think it is not having the C2 would be an impediment to.
That's it.
Yeah. I think that's what, anyway, minor point of clarification.
Thank you. All right. Any more questions before we bring the applicant forward? Okay. If the applicant will come forward and put your video on and unmute and tell us your full name and your address, please.
Okay, my name's Amy Harris. I've owned the property since 1997. My address is 960 Southeast 1121 Road, Deepwater, Missouri.
Thank you. Tell us anything you would like us to know.
Okay. We wish to sell the house. It's been on the market for 6 months as commercial because we thought it'd be beneficial just to sell it as is, but it's not moving. There's so much interest in the house, but it is for people to residential. People are trying to buy it residential. There's no entrepreneurs or business people interested in buying it. So we are wishing and requesting to ask what the currently zone C2 is to rezone it to R6. So then it would be able to go on the market and be sold as a residential home.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Ms. Harris? Seems pretty easy explanation.
Yes.
I don't see it.
We moved 6 months ago.
Go ahead.
Out of Jackson County. We're ready to sell it.
Okay. All right. If there's no questions, I'm going to open it to the public. Is there anyone on the call who would like to speak for this project? Is there anyone on the call who would like to speak against this case? Hearing none. We will close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any more questions for city staff before I entertain a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Preston.
this matter seems rather straightforward, and obviously the applicant is better for having the change in zoning. Therefore, I move in the matter of case number 22-100-02 to rezone 16,000 East 23rd Street from C2 General Commercial to R6 Single Family Residential.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Michelle. All right. City, we're ready for the vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nesbitt,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes. Case 22-100-02 has been approved. Best of luck, Ms. Harris. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're welcome. Okay, next case, I'll try to read it right, is 22-400-02, short-term rental, 1330 South Windsor Street, request by Richard Wiseman to operate a short-term rental. Staff, will you give a report, please?
Okay. So we're looking at the vicinity map here. This is right near where the railroad bridge is to the east of Chrysler there on 23rd Street. You've got Grand Avenue that comes off of 23rd right there. And then the next street over to the east is Windsor. And it's a block and a half down. From that, across from the elementary school there, is the location that we're talking about. So we've got some multifamily that's there on the curve of Grand Avenue, but Windsor and the West 24th Terrace cul-de-sac is all a single family neighborhood. And like I said, it's right across from Santa Fe Trail Elementary. And there's a view of that right there at the drive of the elementary school. Coming out there. The proposed rental property contains a 1,500 square foot home. It's a ranch style home with a large semi-screen deck and a large accessory garage. This business, this short-term rental, will be advertised in the Airbnb and VRBO websites. As far as number of guests go, the applicant's letter indicates that the home contains 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The letter states that the home could be occupied by 12 people. However, our UDO limits, of course, to 10 guests only. And of course, 2 adults per bedroom. So that would be 6 as far as adults. Parking, as you can see there, that large concrete drive, and then the area by the rear garage. There's plenty of vehicles for the necessary guests, or there's plenty of necessary parking for the guests that would potentially come. As far as dealing with security complaints and noise issues, unruly guests, Airbnb and VRBO guests are vetted, and the owner has the right to deny, of course, stay for any reason. All the guests names and ages will be on the rental agreement, and there will be a deposit in place. There will also be security cameras installed throughout the property, and the applicants indicates that they will develop a relationship with neighbors, so they'll will be an ongoing informed situation. Neighbors will have access to the property manager, you know, in case of any disturbances or any extra guests that shouldn't be there or on the property. The property has been inspected by the fire inspector. It's passed the initial short-term rental fire and safety inspections. According to city records, and we'll show our next film with our next picture, there are no other short-term rentals on this block. You can see the closest one is rather distant. And the renters don't indicate a trash service, but they indicate that they will pick up the trash themselves on a regular basis. So staff will recommend approval, but we have 4 conditions that we have are requesting, pretty standard that we've had on other short-term rentals applications like this one. Number 1, the short-term rental shall obtain a business license in accordance with the city code and comply with Article 3, Chapter 5 of the city code. The occupation license number shall be listed on all advertisements and online platforms. The business will have to comply with all safety and other standards established in Section 14-420 of the city code. Number 3, the maximum occupancy of the premises is limited to 6 adults and 10 total, given our UDO limitations and, of course, the limited number of bedrooms that they've stated. And number 4, the owner of the rental will provide means to address immediate emergencies and disturbances on the property. So, real quickly, I'll go through the pictures.
Mr. Harker, can I interrupt for just a second? I would like to get some clarification for the benefit of the commission and the applicant as to recommendation number 3. You say 6 adults, 10 total. What does that mean?
What it means is our code says a maximum of 10 people can be at a short-term rental. It also says that you can only have 2 adults per bedroom, and they say they have 3 bedrooms. So it's saying that there are a maximum of 6 adults, but a total of 10 persons. So
10 persons.
you could have 4 little kids, I guess, basically. With you.
Okay, I think it would be beneficial that we would add the word persons in the parenthetical regarding 10, so that it's clear that we're not talking about 6 or 10 adults. We're talking about 6 adults and 10 persons total.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the direct view at the house from the school property, looking directly west at it. Your little ranch house. And this is just turning around, looking the other way, back to the east. And up the street toward 23rd Street. And on south toward the curve at West Charles. So, staff recommends approval with the conditions I read and as in the modification that was stated. And I turn it over to you.
Thank you for that report. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Brian before we ask the applicant to come forward?
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
As to parking on the street, would that inflict any change for buses turning into the school? I didn't know, because you took a picture there. I didn't know how it looks. I don't know if that's a school drive or, yeah, right there. If they were parking on the street, would that interfere with the buses' turn radius or not?
It looks like a standard 26-foot street to me.
Okay. Because I'm looking at that truck sitting there and I'm saying, well, that looks kind of close.
Yeah, that's yeah. That I parked that truck there. That's the truck I was driving. The big thing is they have this large parking space here. But I suppose even with its depth, you know, people might be tempted, I suppose, to park on the streets so nobody has to back to let somebody else out. But I think it's long enough that somebody could, you know, go around somebody parked, I would think. But legally, I mean, it's a legal parkable street. I mean, if it was a problem for school buses, I guess we could talk to traffic about signage, but otherwise it's a legal parkable street.
Okay, that answered my question.
Thank you, Commissioner Nesbitt. All right. Any other commissioners with questions? All right, let's bring the applicant forward, and will you unmute, turn your video on if possible, and state your name and your address.
Richard Wiseman is my name. My address is 1104 North Davis Road, Independence, Missouri, 64056.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the house, a little bit about parking and how you envision it, and maybe how you're going to handle the trash, and then anything else you want to tell us.
Yeah, thanks again. Yeah, we're just asking for approval on this short-term rental. We have several long-term rentals now. This will be the first short-term rental that we've tried to do. We're going to hire Bear B&B, a property management company specific to short-term rentals. They're licensed already in Independence and have, I believe, at least one or two other short-term rentals there that they manage. And they're clean. They have in-house cleaners also, and they will be disposing of the trash for us. As the picture showed, there is parking and access of parking in the driveway. We can even put it in our book that we asked them to not park in the street. We do, you know, we've been there doing work on the house. We see that there is a lot of other cars that do park on that side, but we can try to limit that as much as possible to try to keep from having any issues since we are directly in front of the entrance.
Thank you. Looks beautiful.
Thank you very
Commissioner,
much.
do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Commissioner Michelle.
And this may be a typo in the staff report, but the property manager is listed by name, and you said it was a company, but it also lists your address. I was curious where the property manager is actually located and how far from this residence would they be coming from?
So I'm the owner, and we manage all of our other properties. Being that this is our first short-term rental, we're good friends with another fellow investor. His name's Tyler Shirk, and he's specific to these short-term rentals. So he's kind of going to show us the ropes on this one. I live here in Independence and will be the emergency contact for everything. But he will be the one that manages the bookings and deals with the people while I learn this side of the business.
Understood. Thank you. My second question, just to clarify on the trash, after the end of every rental period, the cleaners will be removing trash from the property
Yeah.
on a rental by rental basis.
Yes, rental by rental, whether it's a day rental, a 2-day rental, a week rental, and anything over a week, we will just have it. The cleaners will go in weekly if there's anybody there over a week, anyways.
Understood. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Concerns? Thoughts? I don't hear any. So you've done a good job. Is there anyone on this call who would like to speak for this case? Is there anyone on this call who would like to speak against this case? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this hearing and go to commissioners. Do you have any more questions of city before I entertain a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
do you not might think it may be a good idea, given what Commissioner Nesbitt put forward concerning traffic, the school, and be proactive, and given the willingness of this applicant to include in his material to avoid no parking on the street, that might be a wise thing to do and avoid just a multitude of problems down the road. What are your thoughts, Madam Chair?
I think that might be a good proactive thing to include on there. I would ask the city attorney, how do we put a number 5? Do we, as a recommendation, since the owner is amenable to this, can we word it in such a way that he can request? I mean, with 6 adults, the car situation shouldn't be any more than 6 cars anyway, but just in case they decided to have a bachelorette party or something, might be a good idea to, how can we word this? And do we add it to the recommendations?
So I have a follow-up question before I provide an answer, which would be, once, this approval is provided, and this is probably a question for staff, but as individual events then occur, is there any sort of, as long as they have a business license, how does staff enforce any other of the conditions? Is there an individual, do they have to fill out any sort of a permit per event or anything like that?
No, we don't have that. I mean, they're going to have a business license.
Okay.
Just a quick thing for me. This is an investment property. We don't allow bachelorette parties and stuff like that. We're not trying to, have our property damaged. We're doing this as an investment, and we limit our risk in that way. So the only people allowed in the stay will be the people that are on the lease agreement.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
let me modify my question. Given that parking on the streets legal, and the owner has adequate off-street parking, we might recommend, and I think this owner will probably concur, that just to avoid the potential of hazards with school-related traffic, especially large vehicles, i.e. buses, it may be prudent that we recommend that there is no on-street parking.
The owner would be agreeable to put his own no parking signs in the front yard for the people that rent.
Yeah. I would propose approaching it in that manner.
Okay, so do we need to create a number 5 for this or just?
I
Well, we
think
can take number 5 with the recommendation that it's not something that we will compel simply because on-street parking is legal. Merely a recommendation.
I think if there's a question about enforcement of the provision, then certainly it is a condition that could be added that the applicant would put in their lease contracts or their other, like I know they keep a book and set the rules essentially for guests, that they would put in there that there would be no street parking. That having been said, that is helpful. It doesn't necessarily eliminate the problem because that doesn't keep other people from parking there. It would be difficult to know whether guests are parking there or someone else from the street is parking there. My suggestion would be is if parking becomes a problem in front of this property, as I believe staff pointed out, there's a complaint from the school. If we have accidents, which we definitely would not want with children, then I would suggest that, if those problems occur, then the city's traffic department can put up no parking signs themselves at that time. If the applicant, again, so if you all want to make the applicant do this from the upfront, I think you can certainly add a condition that would alleviate that concern from the guests. This is talking about a somewhat remote possibility because of the fact that it does already have adequate parking off street, and it may not fully eliminate the concern, but I think you have the option. There are also other avenues for enforcement of this.
So what if we just put as a number 5, as a suggestion that the owner put in the book as a request to the guest to not park on the street for safety, for school safety, or for the safety of school children. And then at least he's protected. Yes, we can't protect from somebody else parking there, but.
Mr. Wiseman, do you have any way to identify your guests' vehicles when they're staying with you?
Yes, our lease agreement, we should know each vehicle that's supposed to be there and all the adult guests.
Okay. I think with that in mind, I don't know that we necessarily have to say a suggestion or whatever. If we're going to put it in there, we should just say the requirement is that the property owner notify guests that they may not park in the street in front of the residence, period. And that way, because we have Mr. Wiseman as being the local contact for the situation, if we do end up with a traffic problem, IPD is out there being called in because there's some obstruction or some issue, we can certainly check then with Mr. Wiseman to verify whether these license plates match the cars that are there for his guests or not. And I think, from that standpoint, we've built in then protection against the concern. And then Mr. Wiseman, obviously, you'd be well suited to make sure that your guests stay off the street.
Absolutely.
So my suggestion then for the commission is put in a condition number 5 that says the owner of the rental shall notify guests not to park on the street in front of the address.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Preston.
with the advice of counsel, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, I'm ready.
Madam Chair, I've got one more question before Commissioner
I yield
Preston.
back to Commissioner
Commissioner Michelle.
Michelle.
All right. Being the always the what if guy, if we're tracking residents, ahead of time on license plate, vehicle types, license plates, names, etc. How do we do that if somebody is visiting our city in a rental car and they don't know the license plate number, make, and model until they get to town?
That's something that we'll have to address. You know, it's you know, we haven't had, like I said, this is my first short-term rental, and I haven't personally had to experience that. That's the reason why I'm you know, hiring a short-term rental property manager to help me with this. Like I said, he has all of the experience in that, and I'm sure that's a policy they already have in place. So I'm sure they have that accounted for.
Understood. I just thought I'd ask the question.
And I might add that, you know, my personal experience and maybe the experience of others on this call would be that if you go to stay at a hotel, likewise, when you check in, that is when they ask you for the information. And so to the extent that an individual is a guest staying at an Airbnb, they're required typically to check in someplace to get the keys, and that's when that transaction could occur.
Sounds fair. Okay, are we comfortable with this recommendation number 5?
Madam
All
Chair,
right. If so, Commissioner Preston, proceed.
in the matter of case number 21-400-02 short-term rental at 1330 South Windsor Street, in the matter of application for short-term approval, I move for approval with the stipulations as so stated 1 through 4, and the additional no on-street parking be placed in the material.
And the
for
addition.
the tenants in the short-term rental.
Thank you. And the additional to number 3, the 6 adults and the
And
total.
with the modifications, that be changed from 10 total to 10 persons total.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Wiley, second. Thank you. All right, City, we're ready for a vote.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Yes.
Commissioner Michelle,
Yes.
Commissioner Nisbet,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Chairman McLean.
Yes. Case number 22-400-02 has been approved. Thank you very much and best of luck. It's a beautiful home.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next meeting will be March 22nd, 2022. It will be a very long meeting, I'm anticipating. One of the things that we said we would talk about at our next meeting was to go back in person or continue hybrid. And so are there thoughts out there? What do you all think? And are you
Madam
ready to
Chair?
get back in? Yes, sir.
The children are back in school without masks in Independent School District. I think that's a pretty good indicator that we can reasonably approach live meetings again without posing an undue risk to commissioners or to the residents of Independence or the applicants that would come before the commission. I would propose that we would return to live meetings.
Thank you. Does anybody have a different opinion or another opinion?
If I could just bring something up, Chairman.
Yes.
From my understanding, you know, we actually we're advertising this next meeting as a live meeting on the 22nd, because I believe it's been, from what I understand, voiced as policy now that administration of the city wants to see all meetings in public now. So we actually advertised it that way already. I may be wrong. I could stand corrected.
I can confirm, Mr. Harper, I can confirm that administration and the city councilor have directed that this meeting that we are talking about, the next meeting of the P&Z, actually be conducted in person. that there is so much interest from the public with respect to that. It would be practically difficult to do so via Zoom. And so our direction from administration is that that meeting is to be held in person. I think irrespective of our decision here this evening, but just to reinforce that that is what is coming from administration.
Yeah, I think we got that message last week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think we got that message, but I think this commission had planned to have discussions on that. And I think in the independent nature of this commission, we're entitled to have discussions and make a decision as a commission. And therefore, it is my recommendation that this commission move to whole live meetings consistent with what we had indicated we would do in, I think, one of the last meeting.
Yes, it was just basically, yes, we have had that notification. I just wanted to be fair to the commission. We said we would discuss it, and we have. And so it looks like we will be together March 22nd, 2022. It's pretty
And
exciting.
for all future beyond that.
Oh my gosh, I have to learn how to use the gavel. Watch out, whoever's sitting next to me. I'll learn how to hang on tight to it, I promise. So it doesn't go flying.
We'll give you a safety tether.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like one of those, I forget what you call them, but yes, a safety tether. City staff, do you have anything further for us?
No, I don't.
Okay, anybody else have anything for the greater good they'd like to share? All right.
Nothing here.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:28 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a good person.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.